Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. Whether you are listening on your morning commute, during your lunch break, or quietly at home before the day begins, welcome. You are in exactly the right place to practice your English in a natural, meaningful way. This is a level 4 story. That means the sentences are a little longer, the vocabulary is a little richer, and the emotions are a little deeper. But don't worry. I will still speak slowly and clearly. And as always, just listen. Let the English wash over you. Today's story is called His Last Letter to Me. I want you to think about something before we begin. Is there something you have always wanted to say to someone, but never found the right words? Perhaps a thank you. Perhaps an apology. Perhaps simply, I love you, and I am proud of you. Most of us carry those unspoken words our entire lives. Today's story is about what happens when someone finally finds the courage to say them, even when it is almost too late. Sarah found the letter on a Tuesday morning in November. She was not looking for it. She was not expecting it. She was simply sorting through the last box of her father's belongings, the ones the removal company had left in her spare bedroom 3 months earlier. 3 months. She had not been able to open that box until now. The box smelled faintly of pipe tobacco and old paper. It smelled like him. She sat down on the edge of the bed and carefully lifted the lid. Inside were the ordinary things a quiet life leaves behind. A worn leather wallet. A small brass compass. A program from a cricket match, dated 1987. A photograph of her parents on their wedding day, young, smiling, slightly nervous looking. And at the very bottom of the box, beneath a folded handkerchief, was an envelope. The envelope was cream-colored and slightly yellowed at the edges. Her name was written on the front in her father's careful, old-fashioned handwriting. Sarah. Just that. No address. No stamp. Just her name, written as though he had been practicing it. She stared at it for a long time. Her hands did not move. Her breathing slowed. Her father, Thomas, had died 7 months ago. A quiet death, as he had lived a quiet life. He had been 71 years old. He had been a secondary school history teacher for 38 years. He had grown vegetables in his garden every summer. He had read 3 books a week until the very end. And he had never, not once in Sarah's memory, told her that he loved her. He was not a cruel man. He was not unkind. He was simply reserved. That was the word people used at his funeral. Reserved. A man of few words. A private man. Sarah had grown up feeling slightly confused by him. She had spent her childhood reaching toward him and finding only a polite distance. She had told herself, as an adult, that she had made peace with it. That she understood him. That she did not need to hear the words. But the truth was more complicated than that. The truth was that she still needed to hear them. Even now. Even after all this time. She turned the envelope over in her hands. The seal was still closed. Which meant he had written it and kept it. He had never sent it. He had never given it to her. She almost put it back in the box. She almost closed the lid and left the room. Because some part of her was frightened. Frightened of what it might say. Frightened of what it might not say. But her hands were already opening it. Slowly. Carefully. As though the paper itself were fragile. The letter was 2 pages long. Written in the same careful handwriting as the envelope. She noticed immediately that the date at the top was from 2 years before he died. 2 years. He had written this letter and then carried it with him, kept it folded inside a box, for 2 entire years without saying a word. She took a slow breath. And she began to read. Dear Sarah, I have started this letter 4 times now. Each time, I have stopped before the end and put it away. I am not very good at this kind of thing. You already know that, I think. You have always known it. I am writing this because the doctor told me last week that my heart is not working as well as it should be. He was very calm about it. I tried to be calm too. But driving home that afternoon, I found myself thinking about you. And I realized I had left too many things unsaid for too long. I am going to try to say them now. Please forgive me if I do not say them very well. Sarah stopped reading for a moment. Her throat felt tight. She had not known about the doctor's appointment 2 years ago. He had not told her. Of course he hadn't. She pressed her lips together and continued. I know I was not the kind of father who made things easy. I was not the sort of man who said things out loud. Your mother used to say I kept my feelings in my coat pocket, close to me, but hidden. She was right. She usually was. But I want you to know something, Sarah. I have been watching you your entire life. I have been watching you, and I have been so quietly, deeply proud of you, and I am sorry that I never found a way to say it properly. I am sorry that I let you grow up wondering. I remember when you were 7 years old. You fell off your bicycle in front of the whole street. You cut your knee badly. You did not cry. You simply got back on. I watched from the window. I did not come outside. I should have come outside. I don't know why I didn't. I have thought about that moment many times since. Sarah set the letter down on her knee. She was crying now. Quietly. The kind of crying that has been waiting a very long time. She remembered that bicycle. She remembered that day. She had looked up at the house afterward. She had seen the curtain move. She had told herself he wasn't watching. She had told herself he hadn't noticed. But he had been watching. He had always been watching. She picked up the letter again. I was not a man who found it easy to show love. I grew up in a house that was the same, quiet, correct, careful. I thought that was simply how things were. I passed that same quietness on to you, and I am sorry for it. You deserved more warmth than I knew how to give. But please hear this. Every school play, I sat in the 3rd row and I thought, look at her. Every difficult year you had, I lay awake at night worrying, even when you didn't know. Every time you succeeded at something, your degree, your job, your courage when things fell apart, I wanted to ring you and say, I see you. I am so proud of you. I picked up the phone many times. I usually rang to talk about the weather instead. I am not proud of that." Sarah laughed. A small, wet, helpless laugh. Because it was so completely true. He had always talked about the weather. The rain in October. The late frost in April. The surprisingly warm June. The weather had been his whole vocabulary of love. She understood that now. All those phone calls about nothing. They were about everything. There is one more thing I want to say. And this is the hardest part. I know there were years when we were distant. Years when you stopped calling as often. Years when Christmas felt awkward and visits felt short. I blamed myself for that, and I was right to. A child should not have to work so hard to reach their parent. I made it too difficult for too long. But I want you to know, even in those quiet, distant years, you were never far from my mind. You were always there. In the garden in the mornings, I thought of you. In the classroom, when a student struggled and then finally understood something, I thought of you learning to read at the kitchen table. In the evenings, reading, I sometimes turned to tell your mother something and remembered she was gone, and then I missed you too, in the same breath. We grieve the living sometimes, just as we grieve the dead. I think I grieve the closeness we never quite managed. I hope it is not too late to tell you that I wanted it. I always wanted it. I simply did not know how to build it. The letter ended with a single line. No dramatic farewell. No elaborate conclusion. Just this. You are the best thing I ever did, Sarah. I should have told you every single day. With all my love. Dad. Sarah sat on the edge of the spare bed for a very long time. The November light moved slowly across the floor. The house was completely silent. She read the letter again. And then again. Each time, she found something new. A detail she had missed. A sentence that landed differently the second time. The way he had crossed out one word and replaced it with another. The way the pen had pressed harder on some lines, as though certain words had cost him more than others. She thought about all the phone calls. The awkward silences. The goodbyes at the front door that were always slightly too quick. The way he had never hugged her first, but had always, when she hugged him, held on just a little longer than expected. She had noticed that. She had always noticed that. But she had not understood what it meant until now. That evening, Sarah did something she had not done in a very long time. She got out a piece of paper. She sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea going cold beside her. And she wrote a letter. Not to her father. He was gone. There was nothing more she could do about that now, except carry him carefully, the way you carry something that matters. She wrote to her daughter. Her daughter, who was 15 and difficult and wonderful. Her daughter, who sometimes looked at her with the same searching expression Sarah had once turned on her own father. Her daughter, who deserved to hear the things Sarah kept forgetting to say. She wrote for a long time. She did not stop and cross things out. She did not put it in a box. She folded the letter when she was finished, walked down the hallway, and slid it quietly under her daughter's bedroom door. She did not wait to see what happened next. She went to bed. She slept better than she had in months. In the morning, her daughter appeared at the breakfast table. She sat down without speaking. She poured herself orange juice. She looked at her toast. Then she looked up at her mother. "I didn't know you thought all that," she said quietly. Sarah looked at her. "I should have said it sooner," she said. Her daughter was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Can I keep it?" "Of course," Sarah said. They ate breakfast together. They talked about ordinary things. The weather. What was on television? Whether the car needed a service. But something in the kitchen felt lighter. Something that had been closed for a long time was very slightly open. And that was enough. For now, that was enough. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. Before you go, here are 2 questions to think about as you continue your day. Is there something important you have been meaning to say to someone, but keep putting off? And do you think it is ever too late to tell the people we love how we truly feel? Maybe write your answer down in English today. Even just a few sentences. That kind of writing is one of the most powerful ways to practice your English, and it might mean more than you expect. In our next episode, we will hear the story of a woman who moved from a small village in India to a quiet town in Wales, and what she discovered about belonging, language, and home. Until then, take care of yourself. Keep listening. Keep learning. And as we say in Britain, cheers, and speak soon.